in search of the ultimate goal of life, from handwritten documents of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter number 10, Rādhikā Tattva. Lord Chaitanya was now completely satisfied by the statements of Ramananda Roy about Madhurya Prema, which is the culmination of transcendental loving service relationships with the personality of Godhead. Still, Lord Chaitanya expected something more from Ramananda and asked him to go still further. At this most extraordinary request of Lord Chaitanya, Ramananda was astonished. He knew no devotee who could know more than this. But as expert as he was, Ramananda began to go still further by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Having already discussed the super excellent qualities of the transcendental mellowness known as Madhurya Prema, and Sri Krishna's inability to repay the service of the spotlessly pure-hearted cowherder girls of Vraja, Ramananda then proceeded further in the same line in an attempt to discuss the service rendered by Srimati Radharani, the topmost servitor among all the cowherder girls. Sri Krishna, the absolute supreme personality of Godhead, is the full-fledged Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigraha. Krishna's eternal form fully displays transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss by his own internal potency called Ladini Shakti. Srimati Radharani is the controlling deity of that joyous energy of Godhead. The joyous nature of Sri Krishna's energy and Sri Krishna himself are identical, but they appear separately for the purpose of enjoying each other. Therefore, Sri Sri Radha Krishna are two component parts of the same divine entity. Without Srimati Radharani, Krishna is incomplete, and without Sri Krishna, Radharani is incomplete. Thus, these two cannot be separated from one another, and they combine as one in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in order to fulfill this transcendental truth. It is very difficult to understand the Leela of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, but Lord Chaitanya is the most liberal, magnanimous, merciful, and willing benedictor of all living beings in this age of Kali. Lord Chaitanya is readily distributing the highest secret of the spiritual world and only requires that we accept it. Lord Chaitanya has provided us with the easiest way to receive his topmost gift. The first qualification is that one should at once discard the idea of Sayujya Mukti, or becoming one with the impersonal Brahman. The second qualification is that one should simply hear all these transcendental messages in a fully submissive mood from a person who is a bona fide devotee in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami's disciplic succession. And the third and last qualification is that one be very pure in all of one's dealings in life, remaining unaffected by the infectious influence of the age of Kali. A person who has all of these three simple qualifications will have phenomenal success in entering into the plane of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's unbounded mercy. But any deviation from the above-mentioned three qualities will completely close the door of entrance, regardless of how one may try to understand Lord Chaitanya by the strength of one's mundane acquisitions. Without the above three qualifications, nobody can enter into Lord Chaitanya's Leela. Those who have tried to enter into it, neglecting these three necessary qualities, are known as Aula, Baula, Kartabaja, Neda, Daravesh, Shani, Sahajiya, Saki Beki, Smarta, Jatagoshai, Ativadi, Chudadhari, and Goranga Nagari, and many others. Such persons may be considered worthless imitators of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela. Unfortunately, they are misleading the ignorant mass of people who are already condemned by the influence of Kali Yuga. Srimati Radharani is the most important of all the gopis, and her specific loving service is the highest expression of Madhurya Prema. Therefore, it is better that the neophyte practitioners in the devotional field not try to understand the intimacies of Srimati Radharani's confidential service. However, expecting that submissive and bona fide devotees will understand Radharani's service in the future, these confidential discussions are described by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. Devotees who have been fortunate enough to rise to the spontaneous service of Godhead, known as Raganuga Bhakti, and who have developed an attraction for Madhurya Prema, may follow in the footsteps of the confidential associates of Srimati Radharani and their assistants called the Manjaris. The ecstasy that was felt by Srimati Radharani when she met Uddhava in Vraja in her mournful mood of separation from Sri Krishna is personified in Lord Chaitanya. Nobody should imitate Lord Chaitanya's transcendental feelings because it is impossible for a living being to reach that stage. However, at a stage of developed consciousness, one can simply follow in Lord Chaitanya's footsteps. These are the hints given by experienced and self-realized devotees in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami. Ramananda Roy then explained a shloka from the Padma Purana. Yatha Radha Priya Vishnos Tasya Kundang Priyang Tata Sarva Gopishu Saivaika Vishnur Atyanta Vallabha. Srimati Radharani is the most beloved cowherder girl of Sri Krishna. Not only Srimati Radharani, but the lake known as Sri Radha Kund is as dear to Sri Krishna as Srimati Radharani herself. Ramananda Roy then quoted another shloka from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Anayaradito nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Yano Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anayad Raha. My dear Gopi friends, that cowherder girl who has just been taken in privacy by Sri Krishna, leaving us all aside, must have rendered more valuable service to Govinda than ourselves. Sri Radha is the specific name of the distinguished cowherder girl who has rendered the most obliging services to Sri Krishna. Upon hearing these two statements of Ramananda Roy, Lord Chaitanya felt an ecstasy of his own and then said to Ramananda, Oh, please continue, for I am feeling too much happiness by your mode of explanation. It is something like a transcendental river of bliss flowing from your tongue. Sri Krishna stole away Radharani because the nature of love that he had for her was being disturbed in the presence of the other gopis. If Krishna can give up the company of all other gopis for the sake of Radharani, I know that he is especially attached to her. When the transcendental pastime of the Rasa Leela continued, Sri Krishna thought that in the presence of all the other gopis, confidential and secluded love affairs with Radharani would not be possible. Krishna thought that in the presence of the others, the intensity of private love affairs could not be relished. For this reason, Sri Krishna abducted Radharani from within the assembly of all the other gopis and became separated from them all. Ramananda Roy said that there is no comparison to Radharani's love within the universe. Srimati Radharani did not like to be equal with all the other gopis. Thus, in a mood of erotic anger, she left the arena of the Rasa Leela. It was the desire of Sri Krishna that Radharani fulfill his necessity for Rasa Leela. But when she went away, Krishna became disturbed, and in a mood of moroseness, Krishna left the Rasa Leela arena to search out Radharani. Ramananda Roy then quoted two other shlokas from the Gita Govinda. Kansarir api sangsara vasana baddha srinkalam radam adhaya hridaye tatyaja vraja sundari itastatastam anusritya radhikam anangabana vrana kinna manasa kritanutapa sakalinda nandani tatanta kunje vishasada madhava. The enemy of Kamsa, known as Sri Krishna, became afflicted with the desire to liberate his parents Vasudeva and Devaki from imprisonment in Mathura, and left the company of the beautiful damsels of Vraja, keeping Radharani within his heart. Being afflicted by the arrow of Cupid, and unhappily regretting his mistreating Radharani, Madhava Krishna began to search for Radharani along the banks of the Yamuna River. And when Krishna failed to find Rādhikā, he entered the bushes and began to lament. All of the above statements are of very, very high standard of transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead. And many appear to be like ordinary stories of a hero and heroine. The whole activity may also appear like the lusty behavior of ordinary men and women. But this is the foolishness of the mundane conception. The complete picture is of transcendental loving service to the personality of Godhead by the pure senses, completely freed from all mundane designations and cleansed of all mundane affairs. And only the highest devotee, who is absolutely purified by the regulative principles of devotional service, and who has attained the stage of realizing the degraded nature of mundane erotic activities, can relish these supramundane affairs, although they are described in language that is understandable to the general populace. The cheerfulness of Lord Chaitanya in relishing the above statements of Ramananda Roy is proof that they are of the highest standard of transcendental expression. Therefore, readers should be careful not to bring these topics down to a level of mundane affairs. Ramananda Roy continued to explain that by a critical study of the above two shlokas, we can know that the Rasa Leela is performed in the company of innumerable cowherder girls. But in spite of this, the personality of Godhead prefers to remain specifically with Srimati Radharani. Knowing this, a devotee's heart becomes swollen with transcendental joy, which may be compared to a mine of nectar. Hearing about all these transcendental love affairs, the hearts of experienced devotees are filled with an inexplicable supra-mundane joy. They feel that Sri Krishna is equally fond of all the gopis, but Krishna is specifically attracted by the clever and often contradictory dealings of Srimati Radharani. Thus, Rādhikā contributes the most to the Rasa Leela. It is understood from the authoritative literatures which describe the transcendental pastimes of Godhead that in the arena of the Rasa Leela dance, Krishna distributed himself in his innumerable prakash expansions by keeping himself between each of the cowherder girls. Krishna also kept himself by the side of Srimati Radharani. The prakasha expansions of his transcendental body are all identical, but the personality by the side of Srimati Radharani is Krishna's original form, known as Swayam Rupa. Sri Krishna is equal to everyone in his general dealings, but due to the conflicting ecstatic love of Srimati Radharani, there were opposing elements. This is described in the Ujjvala Nilamani. Aher eva gati premna swabhava kutila bhavet ato hetor ahetoscha yunor mana udanchati. The crooked, curved ways of progressive love affairs appear like the movements of a snake. Furthermore, two different kinds of anger, anger with cause and anger without cause, arise within the dealings of a young man and young woman. In pursuance of the above principles, Srimati Radharani, in a mood of erotic anger, left the arena of the Rasa Leela with a feeling of devout attachment. Thus, Sri Hari also became mad after Rādhikā and perturbed in his mind out of anger without cause. Sri Krishna's desire was to enjoy the transcendental pastime of the Rasa Leela in its fullness, and the cornerstone of its whole construction was Srimati Radharani. Without Rādhikā's presence, the Rasa Leela is upset. Therefore, the absence of Srimati Radharani caused Sri Krishna to leave the arena and go in search of her. And when Sri Krishna was unable to find Radharani, after searching here and there, Krishna became overwhelmingly afflicted by Cupid's arrow and began to deeply lament on account of Rādhikā's absence. This very fact proves that the transcendental heart of Sri Krishna is not satiated even with his enjoyment within the midst of so many millions of other cowherder girls. As such, the intensity of Krishna's love for Srimati Radharani is impossible to describe.